Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's FPL Yusuf and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about game week 29, the blank, and this is going to be a free hit draft. We're going to go through all the different types of players we could be bringing in, maybe some sort of differentials that is kind of against the curve, but most importantly, we're going to be looking at what the most optimal starting 11 is for this week if you are free hitting. Okay, so welcome back, guys. Today, like I said in my intro, it's going to be all about a free hit, and we're going to be looking at what the best starting 11 is that you could get out with a free hit. Now, I know it's difficult because not everyone is free hitting, right? Some people are, some people aren't, and it kind of just depends on how your team's looking. Just before we quickly get into the actual draft itself, I just want to kind of go over the two different scenarios as to maybe why you should be free hitting and why you shouldn't be free hitting. I think if your team has sort of got anywhere between 7 to 9 players, I think you could probably avoid it, even if it means taking a -4, -8 to get the full 11 if you wanted to. I think if you've got the majority of players in your team who have got games this week, I think it's just best just to save that free hit for further down the line. A lot of people are going to have Luton players in their team, of course, because like they've had a double recently. But also a lot of people will be stacked up with like Bournemouth players, and that's where the issue may come in, where you are stacked up on players who obviously are blanking this week. Have you got enough to field a decent team? I think if you've got some of the big attackers, so the Sons of the world, Watkins, Maddison, Tony, Bowen, I think if you've got them sort of players in and around your team, I think there's a chance and a viable option that you can get away without free hitting. The defenders are great, right? Because they'll just boost your points up just for the appearances alone. But I think if you've got sort of 4 or 5 of those big key attackers, I think it's probably safe to say you could get away without free hitting this week. I think the only chance or the only issue you'll have is if you don't own them, is that you could drop rank a lot if you don't free hit, just because of the upside that they have, and especially with the amount of people who are going to be owning them this week, their percentages are going to rise because there's going to be a lot of people bringing them in on a free hit. Okay, so let's just get straight into this thing. Goalkeeper. I won't talk too long over this position. I think there's only 2 real choices here. I think one is Kaminsky and one is Mark Flecken. So with Flecken, he's got the fixture on paper, right, that can guarantee him a clean sheet. Now, I think clean sheets are going to be hard to come by this week, just because I think all teams look like they could score. If you had to put your money on someone keeping a clean sheet, you'd probably say it'd be Brentford against Burnley. Flecken's been in very good form over the last sort of few weeks, like 5-6 weeks. He's been, against Man City, he made a lot of saves. Arsenal, he played very well. So he's been in somewhat decent form. Burnley, they've been all right. They looked better against Bournemouth, although they didn't score. I think Brentford, for me, and Flecken have got the highest chance of a clean sheet. The reason why I've gone for Kaminsky also as well is that he just makes a ton of saves. Like, I've owned him for a couple of weeks now since game week 24 when I wildcarded, and every time I've had to use him, he's always got sort of anywhere between 4, 6, 8 save points. 8 saves. So he is good for save points, and obviously if Luton do manage to keep a clean sheet, usually he's going to rack up sort of 5, 6 saves. He'll be in the bonus points for that. So I think he's a good option, but I think for me, starting off in goal will be Mark Flecken. So the defence, I'm going with a 3 at the back on this. The first one is Reguilon. Now, Reguilon was sort of up in the air between him and Roslev from Brentford. At the time of recording, it's Wednesday sort of afternoon, evening time, and we've seen that Reguilon is in training, so the injury doubt around him has sort of gone. So I think he's definitely a viable option. He's on some set pieces, very attacking left wing back. He's just so good, and the price he's at as well for a 1 week punt, I don't think you can go wrong with that. So Reguilon is the first man in there, and obviously, like I said with Flecken, he's probably got the highest chance of keeping a clean sheet. Pedro Porro is up next, one of 3 of Spurs' assets in this team, and we've gone for him over Udogie solely because I think he's just a little bit more attacking. I think he's got a bit more end product. Even though Udogie's been good the last few weeks, I think Pedro Porro does offer that sort of final ball a little bit better. He's obviously on some set pieces and free kicks as well, obviously sharing that with Maddison, who we'll come on to a bit later. And yeah, I think out of the Spurs defenders, he is the one you want to go for. You could make an outside shout at Christian Romero. Obviously, from set pieces, he is very good, but with him comes a very high chance of picking up a yellow card, and even worse, a red card. He's a little bit rash sometimes. So I think for me, Pedro Porro, good for bonus points as well when he does return. I think he's kind of like a no-brainer on this one in terms of the defenders. And the last defender is obviously someone who probably most of us have owned at some point this season, particularly in the last couple of weeks, and it's Alfie Doughty. Same as Reguilon, same as Porro, they're all fullbacks. He bombs up the pitch. He's such a big part of how Luton attack. He just gets cross after cross in. And obviously with Carl Morris in the middle, who again we'll come on to later as well. there's always a chance that he's going to get on the end of something. He's got a decent fixture against Nottingham Forest, who haven't been keeping clean sheets. I think that'll be a good game. I can see both teams scoring in that. But I think Alfie Doughty, you have to sort of go into it. The same with Kaminsky, that it's probably not going to be a clean sheet there, but he has got other ways to get points and he's got other upsides to him. So yeah, back three, Sergio Reguilon, Pedro Porro, and Alfie Doughty. Okay, onto the midfield. Now, this is where I think the points are going to come. And as you can see, I've got 5 across the midfield. Let's start with the Spurs boys. We've got Son and we have Maddison. I think there is an outside chance for Brennan Johnson. He has looked very good over the last few weeks when he's come off the bench. He obviously started last time, got himself a goal. I just think Son and Maddison have got such good upside. You know, Son at the moment is playing up front. It doesn't look like Richarlison's going to be back for this game. So you've got Son up front, who will be on penalties. Maddison, who's on free kicks and corners with Pedro Porro. You kind of cover all bases with Spurs. You cover all set pieces between Porro, Maddison, and Son. And then obviously Maddison and Son, the two creative. You got Maddison who's trying to make all the chances. Son, hopefully, he's putting them away. So I think out of them two on a free hit, where budget's not a question, I think them two are almost nailed in. You know, most people would already own one of them before this, but if you are free hitting, then I think people who are free hitting are going to probably have both of them in there. So yeah, Son and Maddison for me is the first double up. The second double up we've gone for is a West Ham double up, and we've gone for Jarrod Bowen, and I've put Lucas Paqueta on here, which I know it could be a little bit controversial because obviously Kuz is about. The reason why I've gone for Paqueta, we'll start with him first. One, he's on penalties for West Ham, so if West Ham do get penalty, he's very good at converting them. Two, I just think he's a differential, right? And I think when you're free hitting, especially in a game week like this where there's hardly any teams, you kind of want to have someone in there who, I'm not saying put every single player in the start 11 you want to be a differential, but you want maybe one or two that other people won't have. And I think people would A, already have Kudus, or B, if they are free hitting, they'll probably naturally go towards him more. I think Paqueta's someone who's could go slightly under the radar. I mean, I've owned him this season for about 3-4 weeks, and when I did own him, he actually returned good. I had him a game where he got 3 assists in one. He had another game where he got a goal and I think an assist. So he does go under the radar a lot of the time for West Ham. And to be honest with you, West Ham are just a general better team when he's playing. And that brings us nicely onto Jarrod Bowen, who I think is kind of a no-brainer. You know, he's playing up front for West Ham at the moment. Even if West Ham start with a striker, he's still their main focal point for goals. And with Lucas Paqueta creating, I think Jarrod Bowen just is kind of like a no-brainer. But also, I think a lot of people are going to have already previously owned him before that and already have him in their team. So you don't want to miss out on him hauling or him getting returns and then just end up dropping your rank even further down. Now, the last midfielder spot, I put Leon Bailey in here, but I am contemplating about Alanga and Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. Now, as I said, at the time of recording, it's currently Wednesday, so Aston Villa play a Europa League game tomorrow. So I think if you are free hitting, just keep an eye on Leon Bailey's minutes, but also how he plays. I think where Aston Villa are having games thick and fast at the moment, I think there's a lot of chance of him and Moussa Diaby sort of rotating between each other. And I think if you don't feel that you can guarantee the minutes from Leon Bailey, I like the pickup of Alanga or Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest to replace him. But as I said, I have got Leon Bailey on there now. If Leon Bailey is starting for Aston Villa at the weekend, I would go for him. Bear in mind though, Aston Villa, have not got a great record at West Ham, which actually surprised me a little bit. So just bear that in mind when you're taking your picks. But I think with Leon Bailey, the biggest thing that will come down to is whether or not he starts in the Europa League, but also how many minutes he plays as well, because then they have a quick fire game again on the weekend. So just bear in mind with that when you're picking him. Just keep an eye on how Aston Villa fare on Thursday. And finally, the two up front, it's almost like a no-brainer. You've got Ivan Toney from Brentford and Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa. So both of them are they're sort of around the same sort of price. They're not far off each other, but when on a free hit, it doesn't matter. You know, you can afford to get both of them. Toney obviously comes with penalties, good for bonus when he scores. Has got the best fixture on paper out of everyone as well, Burnley. So I think with Reguilon bombing down that left-hand side, I think that chances will be created for Brentford. I think Toney could get amongst the goals, and usually when he does, it results in bonus points. So I think he's kind of like a no-brainer. I think Ollie Watkins is another striker, again, is also another no-brainer. Aston Villa's main man. Like I said, just bear in mind that Aston Villa haven't got the greatest record against West Ham, but Ollie Watkins is in red-hot form. You know, he's got the most returns out of everyone this season, both goals and assists. So he's turned over, and I think he's also a captaincy shout this week. I think it'll be between him and Son mainly. If you want to go for a differential, maybe you could look at like Toney against Burnley. But I think for the most part, I think it would be Watkins or Son. And I think Watkins does hold his own in that conversation. The last striker we've got in here is obviously Carlton Morris. Now I will be benching him for this because, as I said, I'll be starting 3-5-2. But I think that last spot, someone who's guaranteed 90 minutes, he's on penalties for Luton. I just think it's a great option, to be honest with you. So there you guys have it. That is my game week 29 free hit draft. As you can see on the screen, we've gone for Flecken in goal. We've gone for a back three of Reguilon, Pedro Porro, and Alfie Doughty. A 5 across the middle. Son and Maddison with a double up. Another West Ham double up with Paqueta and Bowen. Leon Bailey is in there, but like I said earlier in the video, just keep an eye out on how Aston Villa play on Thursday and whether he starts or not. There's also obviously, options to replace him with like an Elanga or Gibbs White, depending on which one you favour. And obviously the two up front will be Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins. The captaincy choice for this is, I think it's between Son and Watkins. Fulham are decent at home though. They're much better at home than they are away. So I don't know if it'd be as easy as people think it will be for Spurs. Ollie Watkins as well, like I said, Aston Villa haven't got the greatest record against West Ham, but he's just so in form at the moment. So I think it's almost like a 50-50 toss-up between them. Tony with an outside shout if you were looking for a differential. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video today. I'll probably be back maybe on Friday with another video, just kind of detailing like my final team, because obviously I'm not free hitting this week. And I'll try and maybe I'll make another video for people who aren't free hitting. Is it worth taking minuses? Is it not? So yeah, I'll try and get that video to you guys on Friday. But like I said, if you have liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And I'll catch you guys next time.